So a couple of updates on Diddy. We have not fully confirmed this.
Reports are circulating, though not fully confirmed, that Diddy has enrolled in both a domestic violence and a drug treatment program while incarcerated. These types of programs are typically available to all inmates, and if true, his participation may be strategic. First, the trial made it clear that Diddy needs help, regardless of the verdicts on the more serious charges. And second, judges often consider efforts toward rehabilitation when deciding on a sentence. Even though Diddy was found not guilty of sex trafficking and racketeering, he was convicted on 2 counts under the Mann Act, which involves transporting women across state lines for the purpose of prostitution. While these are federal crimes, they don't carry the same weight in public opinion or sentencing as the charges he beat. So why is he in a drug and domestic violence program if he wasn't convicted of those behaviors? Likely for optics, because during the trial, damning testimony about his substance abuse and violent behavior was revealed. So whether or not the charges stuck, the judge still heard enough to justify concern. But what could really influence Diddy's sentence is a unique legal twist. The judge asked the prosecution to bring a list of other cases where someone like Diddy, a buyer, or John was prosecuted and sentenced under the Mann Act. The problem is, that's extremely rare. Typically, the law is used against traffickers, not buyers. If the prosecution can't show that similar cases resulted in serious prison time, Diddy's lawyers could argue that he's being unfairly targeted and used as a high-profile example. Legal experts are already saying that this weakens the case for a harsh sentence. While Diddy could technically face up to 20 years 10 for each conviction, almost no one expects that. Prosecutors themselves are reportedly pushing for a 4-year sentence, but even that seems unlikely. Most insiders believe the sentence will fall somewhere between 1 and 2 years. And since Diddy has already spent time in custody by October, when sentencing is scheduled, he will have served close to a year. That means he could be released shortly after, depending on how much credit he receives for time served. If all goes in his favor, especially, the judge agrees that there's no strong precedent for punishing buyers under the Mann Act. Diddy could be a free man by Christmas. In fact, some are speculating that Thanksgiving might even be a possibility. So despite the public outcry and the shocking details revealed during trial, the legal system may once again favor a celebrity with resources. And while Diddy's legal team works behind the scenes to spin this into a story of redemption and rehabilitation, the victims and the public are left wondering whether justice was truly served. While Diddy's legal team positions his involvement in these prison programs as a sign of rehabilitation, critics argue it's all a calculated move to soften the court's judgment before sentencing. After all, entering drug and domestic violence treatment without a conviction related to those behaviors raises questions about whether he's genuinely seeking change or simply trying to influence optics. Yet this tactic could work in his favor. Judges are human, and when they see a high-profile defendant voluntarily engaging in programs tied to their alleged behavior, it can create the illusion of accountability if the jury never found them guilty of those exact offenses. But the real wild card here is the judge's request to the prosecution. Produce examples of similar cases where the buyer, not the trafficker, was charged and sentenced under the Mann Act. That legal curveball could redefine how this case ends. The Mann Act has historically been used to target pimps, traffickers, and organized networks, not the celebrity client. And if the government can't show precedent for punishing someone like Diddy, the defense could argue that this is selective prosecution meant to make an example out of him simply because of who he is. That argument may resonate in a justice system already under fire for treating the rich and famous differently. If the judge agrees with that view, the punishment could be far lighter than expected. Even a 4-year sentence, which some prosecutors are quietly recommending, is starting to look like a stretch. More likely is a sentence between 12 to 24 months, with much of that already served by the time sentencing happens in October. If Time served is fully credited and, if the defense successfully paints Diddy's program, participation as a sincere step toward redemption, he could realistically walk free before the holidays. Some insiders even whisper that Thanksgiving might be when Diddy steps back into the world, not just as a free man, but one poised to rebuild his brand. Behind the scenes, his team is already planning the next phase of damage control, positioning him as a survivor of false accusations. A reformed man who took responsibility for lesser charges while denying the more explosive ones. But this legal chess game has far-reaching implications beyond just Diddy's fate. If he receives a minimal sentence despite dozens of witnesses, federal raids, damning evidence, and years of disturbing allegations, what message does that send to other survivors, to future prosecutors? It may reinforce the belief that fame still protects the powerful even when the law catches up with them. Victims like Cassie, who risked everything by coming forward, may never feel safe again knowing that their abuser could be back in the public eye within months. And critics are watching closely to see if the justice system will once again prove that high-profile offenders can slip through the cracks with the right legal team, media manipulation, and enough money. The next few months will be pivotal. While the court prepares for sentencing, Diddy's PR machine is already in motion, crafting a comeback narrative that recasts him not as a predator, but as a misunderstood mogul who made mistakes. It's a narrative we've seen before in Hollywood, the redemption arc. But whether the public buys it this time remains to be seen, especially with more voices speaking out, more witnesses being threatened, and more people wondering whether the justice system truly serves a lure just the elite few.